Shut up and sit down.
Welcome back to Nerd Safari. I'm Simon, and we are here today to talk about one of my favorite movies, not everyone's favorite movie, the 1994 epic Legends of the Fall.
Legends of the Fall.
I remember seeing this movie at the theaters and loving it. And then when I reconvened with a circle of friends, I heard that they hated it. And the biggest criticism was, my God, that movie's so long and slow. And is it a Western? Is it a World War II movie? It is a romance movie? And my response was, who cares? It's an awesome movie. So I'm going to try to share with you today a little bit of why I'm passionate about Legends of the Fall. And I'm going to try to minimize the spoilers. One of my favorite things about this movie is it tells a long, complex story of the history of the Ludlow family. So you've got the patriarch,
Anthony Hopkins.
You've also got the impossibly responsible Alfred.
Aidan Quinn.
And of course, you've got the impossibly handsome Tristan.
Brad Pitt.
And last but not least, you've got the impossibly innocent Samuel.
Henry Thomas.
Now, this seems like an idyllic family to start with, but then you have jealousy, debt, disease, and death that threaten to tear the family apart. But of course, in the end, brotherhood prevails.
This is my fiancée, Susanna.
Hello.
It's Nonna.
This movie won an award for Best Cinematography, so it's not surprising that the visuals are simply stunning. It was filmed in rural Canada, just outside of Calgary, and when you watch it, it just makes you pine for the open space. It makes you want to be in a log cabin in Montana or British Columbia. Now, first of all, it took director and producer Edward Zwick 17 years to make this movie. Now, there was some debate as well about the meaning of Legends of the Fall. In the US release, the title clearly referred to a biblical fall from grace. You have this ideal family going through their challenges, struggling and falling from their own personal grace. But in other countries, the name was actually interpreted as fall, meaning autumn. You kind of see these families go through the years, and lots of key moments happen in the autumn. And I kind of like that. I like the fact that it's a chronicling of this family through time, maybe not through their own disappointment and sadness.
You've been nothing but trouble since you came to this house.
Did I damn everybody around me as well as myself?
Brad Pitt and Julia Ormond actually lived in the same house in British Columbia when they were filming this movie, and Brad Pitt said it certainly added to the sexual tension on set.
I'll wait for you. I'll wait for you forever.
You might notice something that looks a little wacky in one of the World War I scenes where they're in the trenches and one of the British soldiers has a soccer whistle and a soccer ball, and he kicks the ball out into no man's land before his men go over the top of the trenches and go to fight the Germans.
Help me! Samuel! Justin!
Now, that's actually historically accurate. It was found that men were so terrified of going out into that no man's land where they could be encountering bullets and shells and mustard gas that actually if they were following a ball and something familiar, it could lessen some of that tension and get them over the other side.
This is a turning point in the history of the world.
Don't talk at me, boys, if I've never seen a war.
So I'm going to try not to give you spoilers on this next piece of trivia, but it's hard. There's a scene where a policeman beats up Brad Pitt's character. And in the actual filming, the policeman accidentally clobbered Brad Pitt with the end of a baton and gave him a black eye. Now it switches to filming the beginning of the movie where Brad Pitt and his brothers are playing tennis, and they had to make jokes about him getting a shiner and what the story was behind that shiner, because he still visibly had a black eye from that altercation with the policeman in the scene that actually comes later in the movie. Now here's another piece of trivia that it's hard to give you without spoilers, but suffice to say, there is a bear in the movie, a big, scary bear. Not so scary when you know his name. His name was actually Bart the Bear, and he was trained by a guy called Doug Seuss. Now, later in the movie, Brad Pitt actually underwent makeup tests to see if he could become old Tristan and play Tristan as an old man. The makeup tests were unconvincing, so actually, when you see old Tristan in the movie, it's not Brad Pitt in makeup, it's Doug Seuss, the trainer for Bart the Bear. And what I love about this is Doug Seuss was the only person who could get close enough to Bart the Bear in order to wrestle him. So any scenes that you see old Tristan and Bart the Bear, that's just Bart the Bear's lovable trainer, Doug Seuss, rolling around with him, having some good times. In a parallel universe where we think about the movie that we almost got instead of the one that we did get, there's something a little wacky here. So first of all, this concept was created as a vehicle to get Sir Sean Connery and Tom Cruise together in the same movie. Obviously that didn't happen, but there's a nice little tribute. The final line of this movie, Legends of the Fall, is, "It was a good death." And that line is reused in the 2003 Tom Cruise movie, The Last Samurai. So outside of that, there really weren't too many alternative castings considered. Johnny Depp was considered for the role of Tristan, but he turned it down. And Samantha Mathis and Gwyneth Paltrow were both considered for the role of Susanna, but clearly things didn't work out that way. So you know me, I'm a real sucker for when everything seems darkest and bleak and then the light prevails in the end. And that really kind of gets me in the feels, gets me emotional, but I cannot share with you my favorite scene in this movie without spoiling the entire third act. So I'm going to zip it, but what I will say, at the very beginning of this Nerd Safari, I said that this is an ideal family who are ruptured by jealousy, death, disease, and debt.
His spirit had the strength to hold his family together.
To us all.
But his destiny had the power to tear them apart.
And yet, at the end, brotherhood prevails. And those moments when brotherhood prevails, when people look out for each other, that gets me every single time. So maybe this movie is just a little bit long. Maybe it chooses scenery. Maybe it tries to span too many genres. But if, like me, you're stuck at home due to this coronavirus lockdown and you're looking for an epic, amazing movie to watch, I strongly recommend you watch Legends of the Fall.
Some people hear their own inner voices with great clearness, and they live by what they hear. Such people become crazy. They become legend.
That's it from me. We will see you next time on Nerd Safari. Peace out, my friends.
Shut up and sit down.